The Claws of Axos, the third serial of Doctor Who's 8th season, first broadcast in 4 parts from the 13th of March to the 3rd of April 1971, written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin. In this particular story, an alien spaceship crash lands on Earth, and aboard the spaceship appear to be, at least, 4 aliens known as the Axons, creatures that are humanoid but have gold faces and appear to be wearing something similar to a onesie, but onesies that appear upon first glance to just be some unusual pattern, but I think are supposed to kind of be similar to kind of brain matter, or look like brains. That's at least what I got from it. Now, they end up being investigated by units. Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge-Stewart, played by Nicholas Courtney, Captain Mike Yates, played by Richard Franklin, Sergeant John Benson, played by John Levine, and several others, including the Third Doctor, played by John Pertwee, and his companion Jo Grant, played by Katie Manning. Now, the Axons say that they just want some time to repair their ship, get the resources they need, and just so they can take off again. But in order to do this, and in return for the humans' help, they also offer a mysterious new element called Axonite. And they say that Axonite, this weird kind of crystal, it could effectively end world hunger on Earth. Like, they demonstrated with the use of a frog, showing that if they subject the frog to Axonite, then the frog grows bigger. And they figure, well, if we could apply it to any animal or any plant on Earth, they could cause it to grow bigger, and thus we could get a bigger food supply and end world hunger, which, on first glance, appears to be quite a good deal. However, the Third Doctor remains unconvinced, and he believes that the Axons are planning something devious. To which, while most of the unit is kind of helpful with the Doctor in this, there's also an American agent named Bill Filer, played by Paul Grist, and the kind of secondary antagonist who they have to deal with is a Ministry of Defence official called Horatio Chin, played by Peter Bratthurst. And while the other characters in the story, like Sir Geoffrey Hardiman, the Newton Power Complex head, played by Donald Hewlett, and Professor Windsor, a scientist, played by David Seville, seem to be kind of just on the side of science, Chin appears to mainly be thinking for his own gain. I mean, he wants effectively power or money, or just to be in a position to have both. Like, when the Axons say that in order for the Axonite to get the kind of best coverage to solve world hunger, it needs to be transported all over the world, Chin mainly wants to keep the Axonite to Britain so that he can be the head of it and ultimately gain more power and money by being kind of the main distributor of Axonite. Say, well, we must keep it here for safety reasons, whereas clearly he just wants the power and money for himself. But that's not the only thing the Axons have got going for them, as they have also somehow captured the Doctor's old nemesis, the Master, played by Roger Delgado once again. Now, as a person who, I know that in this particular season of Doctor Who, season 8, the Master appeared in each and every story. But so far as season 8, at the current moment in time I'm recording this, the only other story from season 8 I've actually seen was the first one, Terror of the Autons. Its first story. I have seen appearances from Roger Delgado's Master later down the line, stuff like in The Sea Devils, The Time Monster, and Frontier in Space, but in terms of season 8, the only other one I've seen is Terror of the Autons, so I'm glad to see the Master back. Now, he has seemingly been captured by the Axons, and he mainly wants to kind of just escape, but he also ends up making a deal with the Axons that if he can guarantee Earth's destruction, then they have to allow him to escape. Because, big surprise, the Axons have actually planned something bigger. Like, Axonite isn't going to solve world hunger, but if it's implanted kind of all over the world, they can drain Earth of its energy and thus use it to escape. But also, having got a Time Lord on their side, they want to unlock the powers of time travel so that they can do more evil things across the universe. Earth is just kind of small fry for them. They actually want to do things bigger. And it turns out the Axons themselves, the humanoid kind of gold-faced image they promote, that's not the actual true Axon. The Axons, I think, are kind of a hive mind thing, and their actual form is much more kind of red tentacles, i.e. the actual claws. And there are some fun moments, I think, with this story, like when the Master kind of allies himself with units and then tries to cause havoc, but then when he tries to leave, the Doctor just tells him, goes, going somewhere. I love that. I also do love the ultimate kind of conclusion that they come to, where the Doctor does end up giving the power of time travel to the Axons, but also manages to trick them, trapping them in a time loop, along with the Master, although the Doctor assumes the Master manages to escape. And I do also like the Doctor's ending. He manages to escape from the Axons. The Axons are left in a time loop for the rest of eternity. And it seems like the Doctor has managed to escape in the TARDIS, but then he gets sent back to Earth. And when they ask him, well, did you come back willingly? Well, no, not willingly. It appears the Time Lords have set my TARDIS so that it always return here. I'm like an intergalactic yo-yo. Which, I don't know, I thought that was fun. Now, the Axons themselves, the kind of monstrous design of the Axons with the tentacles or claws and the like, would eventually be reused in Doctor Who. It's used here in Season 8 for the Axons themselves. However, it would later be reused for the Doctor Who Season 13 story, The Seeds of Doom, where it would be spray-painted green from its original red and be repurposed as the Crinoids. Which, I don't know, I mean, Doctor Who has always had kind of a small budget, so for them to reuse a monster just sprayed a different colour, yeah, that checks out. I also did wonder briefly if Bill Filer, played by Paul Grist, the American unit agent who they got in for this story, I did briefly wonder at one point if he was supposed to be kind of being set up as a romantic interest for Jo, because there did seem to be a few moments throughout the story where Paul Grist and Casey Manning were kind of left alone together, and I don't know, Jo always seemed to be smiling at Bill, and I did kind of wonder, watching the story, were they trying to set up Bill as a romantic interest for her, like they eventually did with her and Professor Clifford Jones in The Green Death? Was that supposed to happen here? But I don't think Filer ever shows up again, so I don't know. I just thought at the time, with the look she was giving, were they trying to set her a romantic interest? Evidently not. I think she was just trying to be kind. You know what? I think this story, I know people thought of this as a pretty good one. I can see that, yeah. I mean, I've only actually watched 2 serials so far, Season 8. And I think, is this better than Terror of the Autons? I'd say they're on about the same level. If you disagree with me, feel free to put your own opinion of the Claws of Axos down in the comments. Anyway, well, my next Big Finish story be, well, the latest one I purchased, and I'm going back to the first Doctor for my next one. That's the next one I purchased and getting ready to watch through, is The Ark. What do I think of that? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Until then, see ya.